Hey Thrivers, you're listening to episode 59. Today we're talking with local influencer and interior stylist Jessica Stoppard. Jessica will be sharing her story with us about downsizing, simplifying, and choosing to have a heart of gratitude this holiday season. She'll also be offering tips and tricks for anyone looking to DIY this Christmas and sharing how to repurpose the decor you already have to create a beautiful space for less. Jessica has a heart for people, and we know you'll love her as much as we do.
Welcome to The Thrive, a podcast for working moms. This is for all the women and moms listening. If you work from home, in an office, run your own business, or are the CEO of your family, this podcast is for you. Because at the end of the day, all moms are working moms. Rachel and Christine invite you to celebrate the victories, get advice, listen to their mom fails, and to know you aren't alone, to thrive in your everyday life.
Hey Thrivers, you're listening to episode 59.
Whoa!
This is Rachel.
And Christine.
Thank you so much for joining us today. We have a really special guest with us. I just feel like we've had such really interesting, exciting guests lately. Christine, do you want to introduce Jessica?
Yes. Jessica Stoppard is joining us. Thank you for being here with us.
It is so great to be here. What a treat.
I actually met you, I would say, virtually on Instagram probably a few months ago. And I don't know how I happened to stop along your page, but then instantly gravitated towards you because of your Insta stories and what you were sharing about your life personally from the beginning. You were just so authentic with how you were speaking about things in your life, and I just started to follow you and knew that we had to have you on our show.
Oh, well, it is just a treat to be here.
Well, thank you. Thank you for joining us. Could you start by sharing a little bit about who you are and what it is that you do?
Sure. So again, my name is Jessica Stoppard, and my husband's name is Josh. We have a 13-year-old daughter, Naomi, Naya for short. And it's kind of work for me has been a little bit of a journey. I do interior styling and have for quite some time, but that's been a journey within itself. And recently started a business with a friend. Actually, she started the business and then was like, "Could you do this with me?" And I was like, "Yes," because it really got me excited. And it's in home staging. So
nice.
We work with, it's really exciting. We work with all kinds of, whether it's a realtor or a homeowner or someone that's in investment properties, and go in and make just a space really feel like home. And so we've had a lot of great feedback. We're just in it a couple months. North Designs is the name of that company. And it's just been great to get feedback and really do what we love. So that's been a treat.
That's awesome. So on the business side, is she somebody that was in this for a while, or she was just doing like the styling, or is she someone that comes from the real estate background? How did that happen?
Well, it's really a God story, honestly. She was actually living in Australia for 2 years and just really felt, I had shared the story with her. I met her one time, shared this vision about this staging company, and she leaves for Australia. We don't see each other for another 5 years, and I get a random phone call. She moves home and she's like, "Do you want to do this?" She has no background in staging, but she's got a business background and a passion for people and creatives and connection.
And a good memory if she remembered 5 years earlier.
This conversation stuck with her. And so she said, "Hey, let's do this thing." And so we jumped in, and it's been a blast.
And are you originally from Lancaster?
Born and raised.
Okay.
Yes, I am been here forever. This is home.
So you have a heart for people here.
Community. The culture here is its own. It's so unique and it's so connective. And I'm just really grateful to be able to raise a family in Lancaster County. It's it's home.
Yeah, well, I mean, I would love to hear a little bit more about just your journey through, becoming a mom and growing a business. That's a common theme with the guests on our show. How are you doing both, or which happened first? And you mentioned you have a daughter who's 13 now. So Tell us a little bit about your journey to becoming a mom.
Well, my journey to becoming a mom was a little bit of a wild one, and motherhood has looked vastly different than I thought it would. So to give you a little bit of backstory, and then I'll hopefully fast forward and answer your question. How did you both at once? But for us, the journey, we got pregnant soon after we were married, which was a little bit of a shockeroo for us. And we're in for a scheduled C-section with Naomi. It wasn't going as planned, and I ended up having to have a hysterectomy that same day. So as a 22-year-old planning future, 4 kids, a picket fence, and
Wow.
a dog. And all of a sudden we have 1 child, and I almost died that day. So came down to a choice of like, try and save media that way or not. And it worked. So God is kind. But through that process, for us, it was such a joyous moment. I mean, you guys have kids, that day it's so celebratory and just like amazing.
A lot of
You're
emotions,
a mom,
though.
especially like a first time mom. But that day also had a lot of grief surrounding it. We were in the hospital then for another week, and it was just ended up being years of a journey for me. Dealt with depression and processing a lot of the hard questions with God. Why do bad things happen to good people, and how does a loving God allow hardship and all of those things, which God can handle. But in the midst of it was a really painful season, especially as years would pass and friends would announce pregnancies, and I didn't have that choice. My body didn't do that anymore, and so that was something to swallow down for me. And it's pain and grief is a tricky thing. The minute you think you're like, yes, I've got this, I'm moving on, it kind of rears its head. And so it was really a process of accepting what God said yes to for me, and embracing the daughter that we had, and asking God, what He wanted parenting, mothering to look like.
Yeah. Was there anything in that time that you look back at now that really was a difference maker in your own healing, or even working your way through that?
I use the word acceptance, but I think that was really it. Accepting my body for the way that it was, and not being able to do what maybe another woman's body could, which was, hold a child. And so, I think saying, yeah, God, you're still good, even in the midst of things that I wouldn't choose. That was a turning point for me. The catalyst there too also was being able to meet with a mentor. That was a big deal. Having someone reaching out, I think, and having input into my life, someone that was further ahead on the journey. That made a big difference.
That's very wise.
Yeah, that was helpful. But fast forwarding to now, and even years past in trying to carry business and carry motherhood, so many of us do the juggle, and it's a dance and it's a flow. And I think, as we were talking earlier, schedule and consistency all helps with that flow. But for me, I feel that it always gets out of balance when I try and do too much. So making sure that I have a powerful yes has been a really big deal in trying to navigate working and mothering and holding both well. And being willing to also lay down what I'm doing, because there's been seasons where I'm like, I can't do it all. I can't. I can't do what I want. I can't make this vision the way I want. So I need to lay that down, because right now my kiddo is going through a hard season and just needs me fully. There's been, seasons of that. And so I think a willingness to stay open.
I love that. Yeah. I'm actually participating in something called November, like with a big no.
Oh, yeah,
like
I love
saying no to things. And it's something that I want it to like trickle down after November into all the other areas of my life, because I feel like there's another quote that I love. I always have quotes that I'm like, I love this. I don't know who said it, and I might not remember it correctly, but it's something about sometimes you have to say a lot of little no's to say a big yes. So sometimes you've got to turn things down. Yeah. And there's like a lot of freedom in that. I feel like really like weighing things. Like I've just found there's a lot of freedom in not feeling obligated and like releasing yourself from like, just because I said I was interested doesn't mean I have to go. And you can tell someone ahead of time, and then you don't feel guilty about canceling the last minute. Just say no.
It's exactly there is power there, and it offers us such rest, I think, too.
Yeah.
Because when we're fried, we're not the only ones that feel it. Like it trickles down and bleeds out into our families and our relationships and work and everything.
So much. So.
And you talked a lot about acceptance, and I feel like those almost go hand in hand, like accepting even where you are in your journey or in this season or in this week of your business or mom life, and then being able to say yes and no to things and knowing that that's really powerful. And
that is a powerful place. I think what I'm learning is to accept and embrace whatever my season is or what God has said yes to, even if it's different than I thought it would be, or it's looking different than I thought it would. There is a different kind of rest and joy there that affects everything. That has been a fun journey to get to there. I'm loving this place, like this place and this space of being more settled. It's a gift.
Tell us how you got there. Like the next thing on our outline
daily, girl.
Here is like simplification. Like I know that you're kind of on like a minimalist trend. Is that the right word? Or just simplifying like what you have?
Well, it's a journey, both. I think we can't do one thing in life and not have it reflect in other areas of life. So with home, our family journey has been simplified and has been a fascinating journey. But my husband woke up. We lived in a old historic farmhouse built in 1826 and loved that place to life. It was not in disrepair when we got it, but just incredibly outdated. And then we added a lot of fun to it too. And my husband woke up one day after getting through years and years of school and finished his master's, and we got our first school payment. And he's like, all right, I guess this is it. And I remember one morning he looked at me and he's like, sweetheart, I don't feel like I can make this school payment one more time. I just don't think it's what God has for us. I really feel like there's got to be a better way to navigate school debt. So we put our heads together, and the only way that he could come up with was selling our home, paying off our debt, and kind of like clean slating it. I did not think that was a good idea. I did not want to sell our home. When I was like, sweetheart, we just finished our last project. You can't possibly be telling me you want to sell our beloved home. So I was not on board, and little beknownst to me, he started praying for me. And then about a month later, I was like, what? It doesn't seem like such a bad idea after all. And he was like, whoa, what's going on here? And,
it's like my prayers worked quickly in your heart.
He said, he was like, actually, I've been praying for you. So the sale recently went through about a month ago. And we're currently living in a rental on the hunt for our next fixer-upper. But that process of downsizing and realizing how much we had, how little we need, and what it truly takes to create home has all really been a process of embracing a season, that's for sure. But there's been a lot of joy there in release, I guess. A lot of joy in just letting go.
It's probably a relief, too, to not have that debt now.
It's amazing.
Is that amazing? Because we're currently
wild.
going through like the Dave Ramsey like financial peace steps, and so we just completed like the first like two baby steps?
That's awesome.
I don't know.
So good.
You know, like the savings and like setting things up, the
Yeah.
emergency fund, the very basics.
Yes.
But we have been making extra payments now every month on like the whole snowballing thing.
Yes,
So
good for you.
the car is the first thing for us to go, and then we don't have any student loan debt, thankfully.
That's awesome.
We did. I should say I did.
Really
Luckily,
awesome.
when we sold our first house, which my husband had purchased with inheritance money, he had like a fixer-upper down here in the city. So anyway, when we sold that, he took care of my
so cool.
student loans, which is amazing. But we have other debt now, and we have a mortgage. And so, going through the process. And I feel like it does affect a lot of facets of life. Like you were saying, you might just think like, oh, finances, it doesn't affect this or that. But like, it's really changed how I look at a lot of things.
It does. Yeah. We woke up like a couple mornings into living at the rental, and he later that week, like pushed a button on the computer and was like, school debt is gone. And he calls me and he's like, babe, guess what I just did? And it was just like a celebration. It was just because it was such a weight on us. And it was like another decade of being really just a slave to where we were at, which just felt for us like we could not get ahead because of this school debt. And so it's been a joy and a delight to kind of rediscover possibilities, because it suddenly feels like there are some, and it was a sacrifice for sure, but we both agree we'd do it again.
That's awesome.
You obviously have figured some things out in your journey, as you seem like a little more seasoned than I feel.
Oh, that's true.
And I know that in marriage and relationships, there's sometimes decisions you have to make that are hard decisions, or that maybe one person feels more passionate or led to than the other, but you compromise. And how do you, thinking about like Thanksgiving and the holidays coming up, how do you keep your mind around the positive and being thankful for that, even in the midst of having difficult choices or maybe something that wasn't totally your idea?
Well, we're all in different seasons of life, but I think a common theme that everyone's processing as we approach the holiday season on a whole is, how can we cultivate a heart of gratitude for ourselves and for our families? What does that look like? Especially because we're living in a consumer day and age where we've got social media and Pinterest, and you can scroll your heart out, and suddenly, and I do this, and suddenly by the 15 minutes later, I'm like, oh my word, I need those.
Yeah, like my decorations are so crappy.
It's just awful. I need a whole new, whatever.
Yeah, I'm going to need you to put less cute stuff up on your feed and show me how to make it work.
You're so sweet. Well, I do try and do DIYs and be thrifty, but it's switching a mindset. So oftentimes I'll have to take some space away. Like, though I love Instagram and there's so many different avenues of social media, or I think it's great to make space for ourselves and to create intentionality. So to ask ourselves, what do we want this holiday season to look like, for personally and for our family? What does that look like? How do we approach this holiday season with an others mindset? So does that mean, hosting a dinner in versus all going out? Or does that mean creating crafts with our kids that we can use as decor? Or does that mean creating, spending some time? I know my daughter is in the teen years now, which is a new thing for us, new territory. But she's really into crafting, so she'll go on Pinterest, and then we'll find ways to make things for gifts for people. So we've actually already started thinking about Christmas gifts. I think if you're going to be intentional about the season and be more of have a simplified approach to it, I think sometimes it takes working ahead. So we're looking at things that we can make for others. She decided she wanted to host a holiday party with her girlfriends. And I said, well,
that's so fun.
That is awesome. Have them on over. You're in charge. You plan this thing, because if you're going to have it, you're going to plan it. So even teaching our kids, getting them involved in what's important to them, and in relationship, and in creating their own communities, because that's truly what this whole holiday season between Thanksgiving and Christmas is all about. Is people. And I think when that's our focus, it becomes pretty basic. I mean, if we're focusing on others and connecting and serving, then everything else kind of finds its place.
I love that. And I think kids definitely can feel and can start having their own little communities, even when they're young. Like, I love that my girls every weekend are like, is it small group night yet?
Yes,
is it small group?
Exactly.
Like, I love that they know. Like, we're very big on routine.
Well, you have to be.
We also host our group, so they get so excited for all their friends to come over, and they know like the drill, and they take the toys downstairs that they want to play with all their friends.
That's so sweet.
I feel like at any age, that's so neat that she's planning this party for friends to come over.
She is so excited about that.
And I feel like you don't have to spend a ton of money. Like, that's the one thing is like, simplifying doesn't mean like, oh, well, we're just going to buy one huge present. I mean, it might, maybe that's what you and your family want to do. But, if simplifying to you is like cutting down costs or making things, like you said, it's November, guys.
Yeah. Yes.
So if you want to DIY or Pinterest it, start looking for those ideas, because I do know that even though they might save money in the long run, I don't have a ton of craft supplies because I am not crafty.
Right.
So sometimes like making those trips to the store to get all the things.
I hear ya.
Like, oh my goodness.
That's a thing within itself. And it's not for everybody. You know, sometimes it's just being mindful. And we always go into the holiday season with like a pre-budget chat. So we map out, just like we were talking about earlier, in order to thrive, you kind of need a plan sometimes. So we map out a plan and a budget, and then we try and stick to it, which offers a lot of rest. But I think even in home decor and apart from the holiday seasons, just in life, I think when we really love what we have, you know, more isn't always more. And so as we choose things mindfully, whether, you know, this year you're going to be focusing on small shops or, you know, whatever it is, if it's mindful choices with decor in our home or with relationships with people or with the approach to the holiday season, it really does make a difference in finding mindfulness. For me, that's kind of a new thing I'm trying to practice. And it kind of shifts gears and it takes away the franticness, and you can think a lot more clearly, and then you end up loving what you choose or what you do. It feels a little bit more intentional.
Yeah. Well, speaking of being frantic and planning ahead, you know, so that people aren't frantic. But I'm just wondering, because you also are, you know, since you do interior design, do you get super excited about decorating your own home, or is it one of those things?
Don't even know.
So that's a yes.
Girl, that is a big yes.
Okay.
I'm one of those that has my Christmas tree up now.
That's what I was going to ask.
I am one of those.
So is it fully decorated though, or will you get it up but then maybe decorate it later? What's your...
So it is up currently, and part of the push was my daughter. She is like Christmas. I think she's an inner elf. But she was like, Mom, we've got to get the Christmas tree down. So we did. But we've always decorated early for Christmas, probably because we both love it so much. It's just the coziest time of year. So yes, we have it up. We've not decorated it yet, but I think that's going to happen this weekend.
Yeah.
I heard someone talking, maybe it was on the news, but about the holiday season, how it seems to be coming a little bit earlier. But they were talking about how it's just such a positive time of year. And I don't know why this hadn't struck me before, but it's like, why do we fight it so hard to save it for our Thanksgiving? Because it's such a joyous time. Like, why wouldn't we want it to start early, like in September?
We can twinkle lights up and eat turkey at the same time.
Right.
And it's going to be just fine.
It makes you happier. And like having a fire, a hot chocolate, a Christmas movie, you know, Disney Plus is out now.
I was just going to say on Disney Plus.
On Disney Plus, like, it just makes you feel good. I don't know about you ladies, but like in the busy time or in, you know, November trying to say no to things, and then having that time just to sit and breathe and look at your decorations, it brings me so much joy. So why do we fight that so much?
I love that. I love that.
I agree with you.
Guys, this is your invitation to get your tree up.
Your Christmas.
Get your decor out. I actually like this time of year too. Like, I don't mind like a cold, yucky day. 'Cause like you said, I like an excuse to stay in and look at my decorations and things. And I have a tendency to go. So sometimes I like when the weather like forces us to just stay in.
It's so cozy.
And I love being cozy. I think for me though, I can't get the Christmas like decorations for the tree.
Okay.
I can't get the ornaments and things out until after Thanksgiving.
That's okay.
Because I like how the greenery looks with like the fall things. Like I still have some pumpkins out because I feel like
totally work that.
I mean, I can work it together, but like I don't know, my tree. I'm gonna wait to decorate that. I think until after Thanksgiving. But I do have a plan to put it up at least this weekend. But we just have to figure out where it's gonna go. We got a new sectional, so we're like reworking the whole living room.
That's always a shtick every year. Where's the tree gonna go?
Anyway, because you're in a new place, so where did you put it? Was that a hard struggle, or was
it took a day? I'm not gonna lie. I'm not gonna lie. It took a whole. I kept moving furniture. The tree's got a place now.
I love it.
But yeah.
Well, we want to hear some more tips from you on decorating and all things that you've learned along your journey as a decorator and helping moms and your clients. So we will hear more about that from you when we return after a break.
Hey mamas, we want to thank you for listening to our second season of episodes and interviews. Jessica is our last scheduled guest this season, and we hope you're loving her as much as we are. Next week, we'll be recapping season 2, reminiscing on our best episodes, and sharing what we've learned from some of our favorite interviews. Be sure to tune in. It will be our last episode before the holidays, and I'll be sharing some big news.
Welcome back. We are talking with Jessica Stoppard today. She is a local interior designer or stager?
Interior stylist.
I like
that.
It's a little more about styling.
Yes, that makes complete sense. And she's been sharing with us so many just great little bits of wisdom. And we're going to talk about some of the practical stuff now, how to get ready for the holidays, how to decorate beautifully, but maybe on a budget. And I had another question for you that I wanted to ask just with holidays and things. You don't have to answer it now, but I'm on a hunt for a tree skirt, and I thought maybe you had an idea.
A tree skirt. Well, it depends on a couple things, what you're looking for on a tree skirt. But I'll tell you what I did for my budget tree skirt. Though I was in Target this morning, and they had some really cute ones. And I know there's a lot of different styles out and options out. But I actually went to my local thrift store, and I found some old neutral, I think they were like white or cream Afghans, and wrapped around the bottom of my tree and give it a layered look.
Yeah.
And so you can do anything from basically spending pennies to another thing I'm really loving. I know there's a lot of places that are carrying them, but they're almost like a basket bottom. And it's not the skirt look. It's a different kind of look, but it looks very clean and crisp. I saw one at Target this morning, and I did have it in my hands, and I put it back down because I have something on the bottom of my tree. I don't need it, but it was very cute.
Saying no.
That's right. I was like, no, I love you. No. But there's a lot of different looks. Even I've seen some, if you're using, I don't know, do you do a real tree or a fake tree?
We do a fake tree.
We do a fake tree. So some are actually taking their tree out of the stand and shoving it in an oversized basket, which looks really adorable depending upon how large your tree is. Or a box. I've seen, that's kind of a new thing this season, are these really great boxes, and it just gives more of a heightened
I like all
look.
of these ideas because they're things I probably already have around my house.
Exactly.
And I like
the name of the game.
The regular tree skirt, I get annoyed when it gets messed up.
And then you're always straightening it, and it's one more thing to straighten.
I like the idea of maybe just like shoving some blankets around it and like mushing them up, and if my kids touch them or the dog it just won't matter.
Yeah, it was exactly the thing. I told my daughter, I was like, sweetheart, go fluff those blankets out around, and she did it, and we left it be, and it was great.
Oh, that's perfect.
And I feel like I've learned some of that from your social media, and what you've been sharing is not just like going out and buying things on a budget, but how to repurpose or use the things that you have already in your home. Is that something that you do a lot with your clients when you're styling? Or your own home?
Well, that's a great question. I do that a lot in my own home because we are living on a budget with a goal in mind to be able to use all of our resources to make a new fixer-upper home. So I'm definitely really budget-minded in my house. And my main heart of hearts is, even with clients, where we'll start is, let's shop your home. Because oftentimes we have treasures in our home we don't even know, because somehow they found their way into like a corner or a closet or a basement or an attic. And they're really beautiful. We just didn't at the time know what to do with them. And so I think we can often repurpose what we already have and love it. I'm also a huge fan of spray paint. I think I have some on my hand right now.
I actually noticed that. I was like, I love that she's like a true designer here.
Yeah, just true in form. But I mean, spray paint changes the tone of everything. So if you've got a flat white or flat black and you want to spray paint a lamp or candlesticks, or right now I'm spray painting like these great shapes of vases I'm finding at Goodwill, and they look fabulous, just spray painted. So it gives it a whole new tip. Put some fresh greens in there.
Where do you get your paint? Because that may be a plan for a favorite thing I have coming up in my house. So what suggestions do you have for this paint?
Spray paint. Well, I love supporting small shops. So if you can find your local hardware store, that would be the name of the game. But I think Walmart, Home Depot, Lowe's, any place that you can find spray paint. And I tend to gravitate right now. Flats are like a matte look is really in. So if you can look for a matte.
I was just going to ask if, do you think those would cover up a table covered in Sharpies?
Well, chalk paint would be great for that. I would definitely consider some chalk paint. And
I had that in mind. I mean, I have a friend asking for a friend whose children might have done that and needed some help. Sure. But that was my first thought. Like,
I am that friend.
I am that friend.
But even that idea of like painting over a mess or something you already have, I feel like is a little bit newer of a thought for me, but like how it could spruce up something and make it look totally new and beautiful.
It is amazing what we can do. I often think we don't realize how capable we are simply because we're afraid of maybe that it won't turn out correctly. We've never done it before. And so there's always that small fear factor. Yeah. So we never do it.
Yes.
And we end up living with it, hating it. And then we go out and buy something. And then we're dealing with guilt for how much money we just spent on the thing that we really, and it's this like cycle. And sometimes I think with design and styling, it just takes a little bit of courage is what I found. Because if the project doesn't turn out, you can scrap it. You spent pennies on it. It's okay. But it's giving ourselves permission to just try something. And even with like floor layout or with clients, I'll just say, hey, do you mind? Can we try this?
Yeah.
And we together, we'll just try it. And they're like, oh my word, I love this. Or let's try this. And we'll work it out and we'll figure it out. And it ends up being such a great process because we're willing to kind of show up and try. And I think that willingness and that courage in design makes a big difference.
We had on a previous guest that was a organizer, and one of the things she mentioned about is like before you get new things to get rid of some things, and it shouldn't just be more, and that reminds me of what you're saying, and how that is such a cyclical thing we get into. It's like, oh, I don't like this, so let me go get more or get the new thing.
Yes.
But we have to just see what we have in a new light, with new eyes.
It's true. It's so true. I think looking at our own home as if we're in a shop. Sometimes if I'm looking for a container for a plant or a different piece of furniture, I'll like gather everything I have in a pile and just look at it and try and look at it with a fresh perspective. Can I paint that? Can I update that? Can I redo the legs on that? Or can I cover that?
These are such good ideas.
My sister-in-law is so good at that. When they were visiting a while ago, my niece, who's 4, had bought me a little plant somewhere where they were out, and my sister-in-law was like, well, do you have a planter? And I'm like, no, I have no planter. I could go buy one because I was going to go to Wegmans. And she's like, well, what do you have around? And she goes into my garage and pulls in like 4 or 5 options, and of course makes it look beautiful.
Oh, that's great.
Plants them and use different planters, puts it on the front stoop. I'm like, oh.
But see, that is the gift of people. Sometimes we can't even see our own spaces. That's why I'm super passionate about going into homes and helping people see things they wouldn't otherwise see. Because we need those extra eyes sometimes. And sometimes it just means like a friend or a sister-in-law, family, whatever, who loves that kind of thing. Have them over and say, hey, can you help me? I've done that with lots of friends before I started working with clients. Can you just help me make this space work again? And with a fresh set of eyes, it's amazing what you can do.
I love that. I feel like sometimes I do that for my husband. When we get new furniture and he just can't envision it, I'm like, why don't we try this?
There you go.
And instead of telling him like this is how it's going to be, those are the words that I have learned to use with him.
You're a wise
let's
woman.
try it. Yeah. And if we don't like it, we can always change it after a few days. We'll see how it feels.
Yeah.
And my real plan is to just keep it like that because I know, but he is not always on the same page.
But it's that courage you said. We'll get there. I did that even with you, Rachel, when I was moving from my townhouse. Remember, I had to I was getting it ready for people to come and view it. And I was like, can you come over and just help me figure out where to put something? Because when you see the thing all the time, you just literally have no ideas. And you're like, hard. Well, just put this here. And I'm like, oh, okay. It was just someone with a new perspective and like giving me that permission to just try something different.
Well said. It is permission. And I think it's also the way that we view our homes. If we're not loving our home, it's hard to love the stuff in our home because we're just like, for whatever reason, whether it's our space isn't working for us, for us, we're in a temporary home right now, we're in a rental. So choosing to love that space and create a haven wherever home is for us, I think it makes a big difference. I've even noticed for my family living here. So the first 2 days were kind of a whirlwind as we moved and settled into our temporary home. And I was like, everybody, if you could just give me 2 hours to nest, that would be great. So they went off and were working in another project or room. And I just nested up our living room. And I got the furniture in place and the pillows on and blankets and made it really cozy. And everybody, did life and went to work and school and came home the next evening and we're like, oh, I just loved coming home tonight. Thank you. And creating that space for our family is such a gift. And I think so often we can let our home go because we're frustrated with it, or it's just it's gotten out of control, or we don't like something in it or whatever. But I think cultivating that haven there and being intentional in our spaces, it does affect our families. I was shocked. I wasn't even aware that they would be affected by our space, but it made a difference. And so I think that can mean a lot and filter out even to our loved ones.
I love that. So I have a quick question here. With budget in mind, what are a few, going to the holidays, what are a few of like the trends that you are seeing and would recommend for maybe sprucing up a space, or, you know, getting your living area, dining area decorated, making things look pretty without spending a lot? If there's specific ideas or trends that you've seen and you're like, oh, that would look great.
Yeah, that would be. Well, I think when I'm styling, a big thing that I love to look for is multifunctional pieces. So if I'm going to buy it, I'm going to want it to work in multiple different ways for me. And so oftentimes when I'm approaching a holiday season, you know, I would suggest a cutting board as part of your centerpiece, because you can use it there. You can also use it to entertain later in the season, and then you can prop it up on your counter, you know, after the holidays are over. So it's kind of like a multifunctional piece. But another thing for the holidays that I'm even finding, I got rid of bins of Christmas decor when we downsized. And I only kept a couple bins, and I got them down just the other day to start decorating our decorating our rental. And I realized even how much in those bins I didn't need, because of the power of fresh greens. There is so much power in walking out your back door, or like showing up at your friend's house or your family's house and be like, hey, can I cut a bag of greens?
Or a stranger with a nice tree.
Knock on their door, excuse me, do you mind if I trim your tree for you? But sticking fresh greens in a vase and lighting a candle is such a statement. I think simplicity can be such a statement. I think sometimes we think we have to overdo something to have it have a voice in our home. And I don't think that's necessary. Any kind of candles and glowy lights, I love, which you can get really anywhere. I've seen them Kirkland's, Target, I think even Walmart carries them. But they're little twinkle lights on a wire strand.
Oh yes, I got a jumbo thing of them.
There
from
you
Costco
go. Oh, you're brilliant.
Year.
Okay, Costco.
Yes.
There we go.
The jumbo one. I need to get that.
I had like 4 packs. So I actually have,
smart.
and they're long. So I have one of them wrapped the whole way around. We put greens on our mantle.
Yes.
And one of them stretched like the whole length of our mantle. And at least the pack that I got, you can set it to like just be on. You can set it to like blink, which was a little too crazy for me. Or you can do like the slow twinkle, like
so
had a
it's
few
kind of
different
glowing.
settings.
Costco. Yeah. Okay, I need to check there because those are magical. They feel a little bit more subtle and glowy than the traditional twinkle lights. But even simple things like that can change the whole tone.
I have so many things in my head right now. Like I already want to move around my living room. I want these lights. I love greenery.
You can come to my house for the greens. I will say.
See, look, I love this. There you go.
When we first moved into our house, like 4 years ago now, we planted trees. Like the whole, like we had to like pretty much scrap our backyard. It was terrible. And so we planted these little pine trees. We got the ones that were in our budget at the time, which were like little Charlie Brown trees. Yes. But they are like over my head now. They're probably like 7 to 8 feet tall. And like now I don't feel guilty when I trim off of them, because like the past couple years, my husband was like, why are you bringing in all these greens? Like,
I remember you having
save the trees. Like, no, I'm helping them grow faster.
I was like, I promise, I only trimmed from like the big one over there. Like they, you know, they're all a little uneven.
Awesome.
But yeah, it's great that now they're big enough. I couldn't trim from any of them.
Kyle's gonna be like, why is Christine out there with scissors? I invited her.
Oh no, I have like a wire cutter that works really nicely for those snipping those branches, trees. So you don't get all sappy.
Now, for listeners, don't just show up unannounced at someone's house.
Appointment only.
Right, by appointment only. Probably have friends.
But these are those unconventional things, right, that you're talking about that make such a difference. And I don't know about you, but like thinking of something new is exciting. I don't have to go spend money to get that same feeling, but it's what have I not tried, or how do I do it in a new way?
And mine lasted a while, but for anyone listening, if you are going to try this, you do need to put them in water, just like another plant. Otherwise, they'll get really dry and the needles will fall off.
Exactly. You really should soak your greens, or make sure that if they're in a vase, that they're in water. That will help with longevity. longevity. But another tip that I have tried is mixing the faux and the real together. So that adds a whole nother element, and it kind of is more long lasting. You kind of start with your faux base, and then you add in your real, whatever it is, your real branches or your berries or whatever, and it gives it a really fun look. And your twinkle lights, voila, you're done.
Oh, I love it.
This is great. This is great. I love it. I'm like, oh, do I have plans tomorrow? No, I can move my living room around.
Forage.
Oh my gosh. Well, this is so helpful.
Yeah.
And I just want to ask, where can people find you if they don't follow you already? How can they find you online or on Instagram?
Sure. Well, currently I'm just on Instagram. I think I have a blog in the works. I say I think because I'm holding it openly. I'm like, Lord, what do you want to do with this? So yes, folks can follow me on Instagram at Stoppard Designs. Stoppard. And yeah, kind of come on the journey. I share a lot of DIYs like making pillow covers with glue guns and all kinds of
you do this?
It
fun
was
things.
fascinating.
It was fascinating. I just went to Goodwill, got a really cozy chunky knit sweater, and made a pillow cover.
With no sewing.
With hot glue.
No, with hot glue, with no sewing. Because as much as I'd love to sew,
make it look nice?
I don't sew. Well, if you just chop off the sleeves, and this was like a turtleneck, and you just chopped it off, flipped it like inside out, glued it together, shoved a pillow form in there, glued it shut, and voila.
That's amazing.
Yeah.
The whole time I'm watching this, like, how is she going to do
Well,
this?
I should say I had to flip it back, back from inside out to the right side.
But what I appreciated about it was that you were coming in not as an expert and be like, oh, look at my line of pillows I've glued, but you were like, let's try this. And so, like you're saying,
so true.
just giving us the permission to try, and you don't know how it's gonna end up. But I was like, okay, let's try this.
Yeah, let's
Jess,
try
let's
this.
do this.
Let's do this thing.
And it gives me courage to try something. And then at the end, it looked beautiful. I was like, okay. I mean, I'm not sure if I'm ready for the pillow project yet, but
You can work up to that. Yeah, just start the spray paint. But seriously, so many of the things I try, I'm attempting for the first time, or I'm trying because of like necessity. So I just figured out how to make a wreath out of a garland because I was like, I need a wreath, and I have a rod that was a thrifted rod from like a round quilting rod. It was oversized. I was like, I'm going to make a wreath out of this. So, sometimes you just have to jump in and try something. Sometimes it fails. Sometimes it works. But there's a way.
Well, thank you.
That's awesome.
I mean, that's what gravitated me to you, I think, in the beginning was just how authentic and real you were. And you just are inviting other moms and other fellow friends to join you in this journey. And I feel like we were already friends, but it was
too.
here.
Well, if someone would be interested in maybe having you consult, for their home or for their project, I just wanted to ask, we know how to find you on Instagram, but do you work with just like regular moms like us? Do you do mostly like project management for, for builders and people like that? Or like, what is your sweet spot?
My sweet spot is probably moms and within the home. So I typically don't work with real estate outside of the home situation. Home is where my heart is, truly. And so that's where I love styling. And really, I style wherever the need is. So a local home decor boutique just said, like, hey, can you help us just make our shop look amazing for the holiday season? And so I'll be there doing that. So really, wherever there's space to style, we just start with a consult and find out what the needs are and how I can come in and help you fall in love with your home again. And then we come up with a plan. Sometimes my clients have been super involved. And sometimes they just said, would you do your thing? Like, here's a budget, just do your thing. And so it's different, but it's all about relationship and helping to create a haven that really works for your life.
I love that. So there you heard it. You can go follow her. You can contact her for a consult. I just wanted to make sure you weren't like only working with businesses or things like that. Because I know that there are people that specialize in, like you said, helping people set up their storefront or helping someone stage like, new houses. I feel like we went through a phase of touring a lot of those when we were thinking about moving. And I was like, who stages these places? Because some of them were just crazy, like the model homes.
Like those, the model homes, wow, they're like amazing.
But I feel like your projects and just the things I see on your personal Instagram are beautiful. I love it. So go follow Jessica.
You guys are
Thank you so much for joining us today.
Thanks for having me.
Thank you. You're so lovely.
So sweet.
And moms.
If no one told you yet today, you and your home are amazing.
Thank you so much for listening today. You are a part of a growing community of moms, business owners, and women who are here to encourage and inspire. You can connect with Rachel at Rachel Klein Creative on Instagram or rachelkleincreative.com. To keep up with Christine and her latest events, follow her business journey on Instagram at Bellenberry Co. And if you want to be first to know about upcoming guests and giveaways, sign up for the Thrive Podcast email list today. Simply visit rachelkleincreative.com/The Thrive Podcast or follow at The Thrive Podcast on Instagram. If you've enjoyed listening this week or you've already added our show to your favorites playlist, we'd love for you to write us a review on iTunes. Your support and positive feedback allows us to keep encouraging moms and business owners each week.